Good afternoon on this sunny Friday in Hillcrest, KZN. And we're about to have a very, very informative discussion about mental health, seeing that it is Mental Health Month in the month of July. And we have a very special guest with us today who goes by Mrs. Gcobisa Ntlabati. Mrs. Gcobisa Ntlabati is the Corporate Wellness Director for her company, BLK Wellness. Just a brief background about her. Ms. Gcobisa has diverse experience in business with over 10 years of involvement in the corporate wellness and training industry space. She specializes in employee wellness programs, soft skills training, and professional counseling, amongst other things. Her company, BLK Wellness, has a variety of services, which include a 24-hour corporate care call center, a corporate, she also has corporate wellness days, medical screenings, employee wellness programs. There are trauma counseling sessions or services, substance abuse counseling, therapeutic counseling, and much more services, which I'm sure you will get to know as we engage with her on her socials, which we'll share after this. And furthermore, Ms. Gcobisa is a speaker at corporate events and wellness day functions, engaging in entrepreneurship, corporate wellness, and women empowerment topics. Mrs. Ntlabati has been invited as a guest speaker in Inanda FM every week for a year, and has also been invited as a guest speaker at Vuma FM. What is interesting with Ms. Gcobisa is that she's also entered into the property industry, the built environment, where she's got clients such as Habitat Properties and Instraton Properties, due to the fact that the built environment is high stress, and therefore mental health is a thing for the built environment too. Well, without any more further ado, may I please introduce, may we clap the hand for her, Ms. Gcobisa Ntlabati. Welcome. Thank you for being with us today.
Wow, thank you so much, Ndumisu, for the lovely introduction. You speak so well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being with us again. That you are very busy, and being a wellness specialist, people assume that it is all well, and we know that it takes a lot for you to stay together for the rest of us. So thank you for taking the time to actually be with us today. And so, in just being sensitive on your busy schedule, I'd like us to please just go on and engage in our conversation for today. Okay, I would like to just ask you a few questions about mental health. We know mental well-being, mental health is quite an issue within the workspace, in our personal lives, in our families. It affects us, and all these different areas of life affect how we operate in the different areas of life. And so we've just structured a few questions that will help guide our conversation. And please just feel free to elaborate as much as you would like on these discussions. So the first item that we'd like to discuss is the difference between mental well-being, which is or slash mental health, and actual mental health illness. Could you please elaborate a bit for us on that?
All right. Thank you for asking this very important question. Um, because mental health is somewhat a hot topic, I would say, for a couple of years now. And I do hear people speaking on, oh gosh, I need to take care of my mental well-being, or I need to take care of my mental health, or I think I have a mental illness. So there's a lot of unclear communication pertaining as to what is mental well-being, what is having a mental illness, what is mental health. So it's a very good question. So I would say, let me start by just mentioning that mental well-being, right, is a state of a positive mindset, right? When we speak about mental well-being, we are really zooming in
Mm,
positive mental health, right? When individual experiences a sense of satisfaction, happiness, peace of mind, right? Effective functioning in a daily life. So, if your mental well being is healthy, it means that mentally, emotionally, right, and psychologically, you are somehow able to manage your mental health in terms of your thinking process and your emotions, meaning that you're in a good state of mind. You've got a positive mental health, right? A system going on for yourself as a person. So mental well-being refers to a positive mental health. Okay. And then on the other hand, mental illness refers to a range of mental health conditions that impact on an individual's thinking, right? The way one thinks, feelings, mood, or behavior, right? So these conditions include disorders such as depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia, bipolar, etc., right? So when you refer to yourself as having a mental illness problem, you must understand that it's not only focusing on people with that has been diagnosed with bipolar or schizophrenia, but experiencing anxiety on a continuous level. It simply
mm,
means that you might also be suffering from a mental illness, which needs to be checked out. Okay, so mental illness is not only about these big words called schizophrenia and bipolar, but it can also mean going through a depression, right, phase in your life. So it means that you are going through a mental health condition which will be diagnosed as a mental illness if you go to a professional, including anxiety disorder, etc., right? So I'm hoping that I'm a bit clear. Mental well-being refers to a state of a positive mental health, and mental illness refers to a range of mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, bipolar, schizophrenia, etc. All right. So to
mm.
sum it up in short.
Wow, that is very, very interesting. And thank you very much for clarifying that for us, because I do know that, the lines are just blurred when it comes to that. And most of us are not quite informed on the
Mm,
differences between the two. And this may overlap on a question that I might have a bit later. But
mm,
with these two, what type of treatments are, just in a nutshell, how would a person who has mental health issues and a mental illness, how would the treatment approaches be? I know that they are also specific to whatever the diagnosis is. However, just the approach of it. Say now I realize that actually I do not have mental health issues. I have a mental illness. Where
mm.
do I go from here?
Well, if you notice, self-awareness is very important, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
if you've always had, if you're always able to have the privilege of taking care of your mental well-being, being healthy in that sense, and you notice that, okay, there's something off, there's something different, right, about you that you're experiencing about yourself and that you're feeling, self-awareness is very important, because then that will allow you to understand that, okay, I'm experiencing feelings that I don't often feel, right? I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling, I feel like every day I've got nothing to look forward to. um my friends, my family, they're noticing that I seem very quiet, I don't see myself. Some of them are saying they might be depressed. That's when you need to understand that you might be experiencing a red flag, of something
Mm.
wrong going on within you as a person. So you need to take care of it. So firstly, seek professional help, right? Just by simply making sure that you consult a mental health professional, that is a counselor, psychologist, therapist, etc., etc. So I would say start with firstly going to a counselor, right? By
Yes.
the assessment that she or he is going to make, he'll be able to assess whether or not it's something that he or she can treat. If they see that your situation might need a psychologist or psychiatrist, therapist, etc., then they're going to refer you accordingly, right? Number one, so seek professional help. Number two, you need to make sure that you've got a good support system, right? So surround yourself with supportive friends, family members, etc., etc. You know which people to be in your inner circle, right? When you're going through a tough time in life, you need to understand who can be in your inner circle. Okay, those are people that you know for sure will support you no matter what you're going through. And after leaving their conversation or connecting with them, you will feel like your cup is filled instead of your cup being empty. You will feel more revitalized instead of feeling drained, right? Practice self-care. So engage in activities that you enjoy, right? And hobbies that you enjoy. Exercise is one of them. Meditation. If you're a person that you like to read the word, read the word. If you're a person that likes to watch comedy and fun things, social media, go for that. Go for things that you enjoy, things that make you feel good, right? That's very, very important. Stay physically active. The more you exercise, dopamine is being released, right? You're going to be more
Mm.
positive, you're going to feel better. Okay. Maintain a healthy diet. It's very important what you eat. Try and stay away from foods that have got too much sugar, things that are going to spike you in terms of you, being a person that's always too physically active, right? Something that's not going to change your moods, so make sure that you eat foods that are nutritious, not foods that are suddenly going to change your physical activity, make you too hyperactive, like
Yes.
sometimes what sugar does, right? Too much.
Yes. Yes.
Establish a routine. So if you're running a business, like people like me, I have to have a routine in place, right? For my own
Yes.
mental well-being and wellness. Because if I don't stick to a routine, it may throw me off with whatever is happening in the business. So establish a routine for yourself. Wake up in the morning. What do? I wake up in the morning, take walks in the morning, come back, make lunch for kids, etc., etc., etc. Do things that are going to revitalize you, make you feel good. Have a routine even in the workplace. Once you start working, the first thing that you do, you open your laptop. Second thing that you do, you go through your emails. So have a routine. Establish a routine. Set realistic goals. Try not to overdo it, when you're planning your week. So if you understand that Friday afternoons for you are time for relaxation and rest, so do that. You understand? Instead of saying no on Friday afternoons, I'm going to work on quotations. Do you understand? Maybe on a Monday. You know what I'm saying? Where everybody's on a work mode, nobody's taking a half day, etc., etc. So be real with your goals. Practice mindfulness and relaxation techniques. Breathing techniques are excellent, right? If you feel, because some people they go through stomach cramps, why? It's because they've got short breaths, right? And they have headaches. It's because of the short breaths that their body is doing. Why is the body taking short breaths? It's because they're anxious about something, or they are under pressure or whatever, and emotionally they are not stable, which brings in short breaths. which makes the stomach to cramp up. So what happens is, what's important for you to do is to take very deep breaths and slow down and breathing in and out. That is going to relax your stomach. You'll start being
Yeah.
more relaxed, and you make sure that you practice mindfulness in terms of positive thoughts. Avoid alcohol and drugs, right? Drugs can actually means can also mean prescription medication. It doesn't necessarily have to mean illegal substances. It can be
Yeah.
legal, right? But one, you'd find that some people, they get dependent on that because somehow it numbs their emotions and their feelings, and they don't feel what
Yes.
they don't want to feel. So the
Yeah.
alcohol and the other drugs, one needs to be very careful of that. um, when you see that you are being excessive on alcohol or other drugs, ask yourself, what don't you want to feel, so that you can give
Yes.
yourself that chance to feel what you need to feel. As unpleasant it may be, but sometimes you need to go through the feelings and emotions in order to come up with a solution. But if you numb your feelings and emotions and you don't allow yourself to go through them, it may go on for years and you may never come up with a solution. Why? It's because you didn't allow yourself to feel what you need to feel, go through the emotions,
Yes.
and move to the next level in your life, right? And then lastly, stay connected, engage with people, right? Maintain connecting with your loved ones. Do not isolate yourself. So those are the things I would say one
Yes.
needs to do to take care of their mental health.
Thank you very much for answering that. I mean, I think you've really, really indulged us on the overall. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like this, to a certain extent, can be preventative
Yeah.
to a certain extent, especially when it
Yes.
comes to mental health.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes, there are people that generationally experience mental health challenges, where their
Yeah.
forefathers or their fathers are going through a mental health problem that they are going through. So,
Yes.
what is important there is to consult the professional and get the necessary help, right? That you can get.
Okay.
Look, there are many different ways of treatment out there. It doesn't
Okay.
even necessarily have to be drugs, you know what I mean? Processed
Mm,
medication and stuff like that. There's
yes.
different types of ways of treating oneself, but obviously not to self-treat, but to go to a
Yes.
professional where they'll be able to know what you need to do in order to help to get the necessary help that you need.
Okay. All right. That's wonderful. Because it's all about also sustainability, I think. Yeah, sustainability is key because not everyone can afford medications. Not everyone can afford, X, Y, and Z. So perhaps me being able to identify after my self-awareness to say that, okay, I've got a problem, and perhaps I can start with the counselor, and from there I could be able to get into phase one of treatment that I can actually afford. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Yes. Do most people still see the stigma hard to bear, or have things changed? Is it still such a stigma with the people that you encounter?
Well, I can say in South Africa, things are progressively changing to the better, right?
Yes.
Um, Especially within our culture, things are changing. Because I remember when I was growing up, my mother, she used to say, no, she never understood what counseling was, what is psychology. And then she used to say, no, those are people with but yeah, I wish to speak up with it in vernacular. So, but ugula ngengqondo, yabona, which means that
Mm,
how they used to
mm,
see when a person goes for counseling is like, in a
yeah.
bad way, that they're
Yes.
mentally ill into such an extent that they could be put into a mental institution. And as
Yes.
time progressed, even our parents understand what counseling is and what it's all about. So the stigma around counseling and people getting the mental health that they need is slowly but surely getting better. People are slowly but surely beginning to understand what it's about. So the stigma is moving quickly away, especially with social media now,
Yes.
with all the professionals coming out and creating that awareness. Because of that
Yeah.
awareness, people are starting to understand what mental health is and what they need to do as people to get the professional help that they need. People are no longer to say that my mental health is being affected negatively by ABCD, right? Whereas
Yeah.
before, in the past, the minute you mention mental health, it used to be seen as, people who used to even say that person is mental, not
Yeah.
understanding why saying that person is mental. And people back in the days used to think mental, the minute you mention the word mental, it means psychiatric ward. You
Yes.
understand? So as I was mentioning earlier on, mental illness can be a simple thing as anxiety. You understand?
Yeah.
Depression, right? And people do go through depression. It's just part of how things work within the lifestyle that we live, in this day and age. So yeah, stigma is still there, but slowly but surely people are beginning to understand that what the importance of treating mental illnesses and what counseling is all about. So slowly but surely things are getting better.
Oh, that's wonderful because wow, the amount of suicides that we hear of, and how people get off their journeys because they just feel like they're not good enough, and they'll quit their dreams and just drop life. And even if they don't end up passing, on in the world, but they don't live, a life that's fulfilling. So it's really good that people are going out there and really getting help and not being ashamed, for not feeling well,
Yeah.
because there's so many reasons that could affect you. Some, like you said, it could be, something that's imbalanced even in your system, that you can't control, but you actually need an intervention for it. Thank
Yes.
you for explaining that to us. Yes, and being in the built environment, it's such. I mean, I know that every career, every job has a very high level of stress. But since we are now talking about the built environment, and we let's talk about even women in the built environment. Not that men do not suffer from such, such situations at times, but we'll specifically talk about women because women have a different, we always say that the built environment was never designed for women.
Mm,
So, and the built environment is primarily male dominated and has been, even though the transformation of women in the industry, the numbers are now increasing.
mm,
However, it still remains male dominated. And a
yeah.
lot of women who starts, because we are now talking about mainly the architectural industry, many women who start don't actually follow through, you know,
Mm,
unless they make certain sacrifices in life that
mm,
they may not spend as much time with their families, or they mostly exclude, the um, family package, or
mm,
whatever other sacrifices that they need to make more than what a man would need to make. And
mm.
in this instance, what type of advice would you give? Can you have a successful career if you struggle with mental health issues in such environments as well, such as the built environment?
Mm. Yes, if a person is suffering from mental health issues, they can definitely have a successful career, right? Why? It's because it's important for them to be able to have self-awareness and understanding that whatever they're feeling, if they are not able to help themselves to feel better and be able to be productive the way that they would like, then they need to seek professional help, right? By seeking
Yes.
professional help, it's going to help you to get the support that you need, and it's going to help identify what the actual issue is so that you can get the required interventions in place to mitigate the problem. All right.
Yeah.
So that is now, I'm speaking now to whatever mental issue that you have as an individual, whether you're a man or a female, right? And then when it comes to women, you know, being in the industry, I believe that that's an ongoing issue in all different in all the different sectors, right? When it comes
Yes.
to work and business, um, because of how things are going, the economy, women are finding themselves more going out there and working. Yes, definitely, it's more challenging in the male-dominated industries, right? Like the property industry. I mean, the list goes on, right?
Yes.
Construction,
Yes.
the list goes on. But however, what is important there when it comes to such challenges is to create workshops, that
Yes.
help the males to be able to understand the
Wow.
importance of diversity, right? So
Yes.
it's actually a workshop that we do in some companies where we're able to help people understand the importance of diversity and being
Yes.
able to come together and work together and bring in your different strengths as male, as female, to contribute towards whatever project that you're doing so that you can get the best possible outcomes and results. So diversity management soft skill training is one of the trainings that is very important for any industry that has got more specific gender than the other, including the ones that have more females than males, like maybe the nursing industry, the health industry, the nurses.
Yes.
Understand? So it's all about helping people to have a mindset shift so that they can think differently and see the positives so that the change can be managed in a healthy way for everybody involved, you know so there's that.
Yes.
um, and
Thank
then
you.
and then it's very, very important to communicate.
Mm.
We're at that place now where, as a country, as the world, we noticing that there are high suicide, rates pertaining to males. Why is that?
Yes. Yes.
Those are things that we are beginning to look into, and trying to help our boys and our sons,
Yes.
to learn to talk and communicate, for them to
Yes.
help them to understand that communication doesn't mean that you're weak, but it means
Yes.
that you're actually strong because you're taking accountability of yourself, and being vulnerable is actually a strength, etc., etc. Um, so that you don't get situations where people don't communicate and they suffer in silence, and then suddenly there's a there's a death unnecessarily,
Yes.
but it could have
It's
been
an unnecessary death.
avoided purely through
Yeah.
communication. So there are things, that various kind of interventions that need to happen in order for industries to be able to accommodate the diversities in the
Yes.
workplace, and also to be able to mitigate some of the challenges that are experienced out there. And it's not that it's because the industry is bad or good, but it's just a matter of awareness and information that needs to go out there, so everybody can
Yes.
bring in their own special strengths, so that
Yeah.
there can be productivity and positive outcomes and return on investment necessary, in order to build our country.
Wow. Thank you very much. I've got the last question. Last question. Last one.
Mm, yeah.
Okay, maybe it's the second to last, but they're both short.
Mm,
If if I wake up in the morning and my mental state feels down and unsettled,
mm,
few things that I can do that can change that train of thought. Please
yeah.
advise.
it all starts with being aware as to, okay, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling sad right now. I'm feeling
For
demotivated. And
one,
then yeah, the first thing that you need to do by yourself in the morning, if you don't feel yourself, ask
yes.
yourself, what am I feeling? You feel what you need to feel so that you can understand what's happening with you. And then once you
Mm,
understand, oh, okay, I'm actually feeling sad or anxious, or I'm feeling I'm feeling fearful, then you need to ask yourself, after you acknowledge your feelings, you need to ask yourself, what am I thinking? You know, what is going
mm,
through my mind? Because your mind, your thought patterns affect how you feel. How you feel affects your actions. Do you understand? So that's why it's
yes.
very important to start to understand what is your thinking patterns. What are you thinking? If you notice that what you are thinking, you can't help but think it, then that's when you need to reach out for support. Talk to someone about it. If you're going through a
Yes.
divorce, talk about it. I'm always thinking about my divorce. I feel I regret divorcing, or I keep on thinking about what I could have done to make things better. you know those things that you are thinking, those are the things that, and you don't have solutions for. That's what you need to reach out for help for. Do you understand? That's what you need to reach out for help for.
No, I totally hear you. And I think even just to bring it to context for students that are studying, you know, maybe having negative thoughts that perhaps my submission, was not good enough. Perhaps I have financial challenges at home that prohibit me or limit me in my school performance, or could it be a language barrier? Because there are real challenges.
Yeah.
The architectural curriculum is in English, and perhaps I grew up in the rural areas and my English is not proficient, and I struggle with communication at school, which hinders. I know the thing, but I can't express it. So, yes, finding someone to talk about it. And there are school counselors in universities. There are university counselors that are ready and able, lecturers who are ready and able to assist students with whatever challenges that they may have. And like you are saying, the key is to be able to talk, even finding a mentor that you can talk
Yeah.
to, finding somebody who's willing to give you a bit of time, as you try to find your way and navigate these sort of challenges that come by everyone's way. Like you've said, it's not unique to women. We're not saying that it makes it okay, but we have to try. We just have to try so that we can have lives that are fulfilling. No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Ntlabati of BLK Wellness. If our listeners would like to get a hold of you, how do we get a hold of you? Please, can you share? Because we need to reach out. We need to take care of ourselves, and we need to seek help where we need help.
Okay, not a problem. You can contact me. My work number is 064 514 2428. 064 514 2428.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to everybody who's listening as well. Just to repeat, Mrs. Gcobisa's Ntlabati's contact details, it's 064 514 2428, and her email address is Gcobisa at blkwellness.co.za, which is spelt Gcobisa at BLK wellness.co.za. Thank you very much, Ms. Gcobisa, for being with us today. We really appreciate your time and your expertise. You've given us a wealth of knowledge, and we all have something to take back home and do some self introspection. about our state of mental health, or our mental illness without any shame, so that we can actually have fulfilling lives. Would you like to have any last closing remarks?
Not really, Nondu. You said everything so well. Thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate it in terms of contributing towards society and the work environment to help people understand more about mental health and mental well-being, mental illness. If anybody wants to contact me, there's not a problem. There is a work WhatsApp. If you got any questions, you can use the work WhatsApp, and we'll be able to assist where possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, and have a lovely, lovely Friday afternoon and the rest of your weekend. Thank you, Ms. Ntlabati. Thank you, Mrs. Ntlabati.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.